Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us. My guests today are Greg Feldman, the Chief Executive Officer at Wire Systems, Jeff Rubery, the Market Executive for Virginia at EagleBank. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. I was looking up stuff on your company, Wire Systems. The name's actually pretty cool. Tell me where it comes from.
We were actually founded by Dan Frank, a naval aviator, service-disabled veteran, and Dan decided on the name Wire Systems because the three-wire in naval aviation is the optimal landing, and that's what we aim to deliver for our customers.
So the landing for a fighter jet?
Yes.
Nice. That's very cool. So tell me what Wire Systems does.
So Wire actually has a multidisciplined federal contracting organization. We have a technology business that focuses in the cybersecurity space and software development. And we also are involved in the telehealth market.
All right, so Greg and Jeff, how did Wire Systems start to work with EagleBank?
Thanks for the question. We actually met some years ago. Greg and his partner, Bill, and I met probably over 10 years ago. I've known Bill for over 20 years. And that's how a lot of these things develop. You build a personal relationship with folks. We had an opportunity to do business a while back, and once you have that built out, you find each other working well together, it makes sense to keep doing it.
So Greg, what sort of needs did your company have when you approached EagleBank?
So it was a really interesting time in our corporate evolution. Company founder wanted to retire, and we were looking to orchestrate a buyout, and EagleBank stepped forward and understood our needs, acted with urgency, and helped us work through that process.
What goes into a buyout, just so we can all understand and be on the same page?
So first of all, you have to have a motivated seller. We had an individual in Dan who had served the nation in the Navy, had a passion for serving the veteran community, and had gotten to the point in his career where it was time to exit. We agreed on a valuation for the business and then worked with Eagle for financing of that buyout.
So was it, hey, EagleBank, you're here, kaboom, deal's in place, done? Or did you have to, find a few people before you could find the right partner to work with?
Well, it was interesting. We actually started the process with our legacy institution, and they didn't quite understand our needs to the level that Eagle did. And to Jeff's credit, he stepped forward, put a proposal together, and we built trust pretty immediately through that process, and we've been together ever since.
Yeah, Jeff, when Wire Systems approached you the first time, what did you see?
Well, the first thing that I saw, John, were two friends, and who I've known for a little while, and who other folks at EagleBank had known for even longer. It was a terrific opportunity for them. I actually also knew the founder, Dan, and so when they explained what they wanted, how they wanted to do it, my partners and I at EagleBank got together and found a way and presented them different ways to pursue that path. Luckily, we agreed upon one, and several years later, it's been working great. So
it sounds like you were very interested in the people behind the deal, not just a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, as I've been in my career and spent a lot of decades in good times and challenging times, you begin to appreciate the value of culture and the value of the relationships that you build within that culture. And so business works best when you enjoy being with the people at the other side of the table. And I think that Greg and his people at Wire have a similar cultural belief that we at EagleBank have. And so when you have that characteristic, things can generally work out well. It's not to say you won't have challenges from time to time or maybe even disagreements, but you know each other well enough to sit down and figure out solutions.
Was the deal with Wire Systems something that was, a template you could put X's and O's into, some words, fill in the blanks, or was this a one-off? Was this something new and challenging?
Well, as you would expect, there are certain pieces of the framework that fold from place to place to place, but each of the businesses and the operators within them have merits unto themselves, and they have desires and goals they want to achieve that are going to be unique. So most of the deal has to be tailored.
Greg, you partner up. Where'd you go from there?
Well, if I look back, this is approximately 3 years ago. We have really scaled our business pretty tremendously over the last 3 years. From a telehealth perspective, we've had the opportunity to garner a number of pretty significant awards, including being named the National Contact Center of the Year for 21 by the American Association of Suicidology. We expanded with growth in building a 50-state telehealth network, which is pretty unique for a company of our size and scale. And on the cybersecurity side, we actually built a platform that is currently being tested by the Department of Defense, and it actually automates a highly manual process for cyber hygiene.
Any lessons learned along the way? I'd like to hear from both of you on this, but Jeff, any lessons learned along this journey?
I think for any of these journeys, you have to be open-minded that things will not always go as you drew them up on paper. And so asking questions about what could change the plans was one takeaway here. And not a whole lot has changed in the relationship. Greg and his partners have done a wonderful job of growing their business, and they've been very communicative with us along the way if they've had some mid-course corrections to make, and we do the same for them. And so if we can do that often enough without it becoming too cumbersome, generally things run very smoothly.
And Greg, any lessons learned for you?
It's all about transparency and trust and an underpinning of integrity, which we knew going in, and we've been tremendously satisfied with our relationship.
Has EagleBank been able to apply these lessons to other businesses? Is this something that you can extrapolate? That's
a great question. Yes, is the short answer to that. There are two key elements that I look at. There's the technical competence of understanding, in this instance, government contracting and the goals that Greg and Bill and their partners want to achieve. And then you have the cultural side of it. And Greg mentioned that, at least one aspect of that in terms of integrity. So when we look at this, we're considering both of those measures. We have to have the technical ability to help them achieve what they want to achieve and ask the right questions relative to their goals, and at the same time do it in a way that's predictable according to how we operate within our culture.
Yeah, I just wanted to add another attribute that I've found valuable in our banking relationship with Eagle is problem solving, and it's akin to the way that we approach our overall business. We're built on a foundation of solving problems, key problems for government clients in very critical areas. And anytime we came across an issue, they were one step ahead in terms of anticipating the issue and having an answer to that problem.
Yeah, it sounds like what you do is by definition complicated. Mm-hmm. How important is it to have any partner, banking or otherwise, who can get into the down and dirty of what you do and understand it?
Oh, it's absolutely critical. It allows us to focus on our mission, which is delivering to our federal government clients.
And is that something that you were up to speed on already? Did you have to do a deep dive and learn this as you went? How did that work?
Well, it's similar to your question earlier. Is there a framework of characteristics that can carry forth in a number of circumstances? And certainly there are some things that we would do as a standard towards approaching certain things. But if you look back on events like the pandemic a few years ago, which brought about variables that very few of us could have ever predicted. And so that forces you to think a little bit on the fly and to try to anticipate what could happen and to call Greg and say, these events are unfolding, this is what we're seeing, these are some possible solutions. Does this mirror up with what you want to achieve?
Where does the risk thing factor in? I mean, at what point do you say, I understand this to a degree at which we're comfortable putting something behind this company?
There's that technical competence aspect that I spoke of earlier. So we will apply some of that, try to introduce the new variables, and I'll continue to use the pandemic as one, but there are other economic swings here and there. And, we will give Greg and 3Wire our ideas. This is what we think we should be doing as we look forward into the next 3, 6, 12 months. Does this line up with where you are strategically? And if we have a couple of mid-course corrections along the way, this is how we think we should address it. And Greg spoke of transparency. We'll ask that question. It doesn't mean we always agree, but we will. If we don't agree, we'll find a way to work so it's a win-win for both of us.
So it really is a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of feeding off of each other and figuring out the direction to go in based on mutual feedback?
I would say that on both sides of the equation, we've been predictable and we've been transparent, as I indicated earlier.
Yeah.
And that's the underpinning of trust.
Greg, I just want to learn more about your businesses. Can you give me some more examples of the things you guys do?
Certainly. So in the mental health space, we're actually rolling out a new technology platform shortly. In fact, we like to practice what we preach. So internally, we're going to be rolling out this app for our employee base, recognizing the challenge in the industry that exists today with not enough mental health providers to handle the many problems across the landscape. So we've implemented this technology in a test and are looking to roll it out internally over the next 90 days, and it'll actually be available on the Apple Store under the My Advisor app. And then once we're able to test the capability, we'll roll this out to our broader customer base as necessary.
Who is the broader customer base?
So we actually began in serving the veteran community. Again, back to the company founder, we were doing telehealth before it was actually a thing, as I like to say. 2007, we won our first contract, and we were serving an Army contract at the time. And so we began with a founder who had a passion to serve that veteran community, and then over time, we rolled out our capabilities for telehealth to a broader adjacent environment. So we now serve commercial healthcare and commercial clients as well with large veteran or otherwise disadvantaged populations.
So does Greg come to you and say, I have this great idea, but rolling it out is going to require X, Y, Z? Is that how it works?
Yeah, that almost that exact statement is made from time to time. There are, Greg and 3Wire have strategic objectives that they want to come across in the next 1, 3, 5 years, and we will get together for breakfast every now and again, usually about every 2 or 3 months, and that question comes out. This is what we're doing now. This is what's working. We've got this idea and this opportunity over here. This is, I think, how we're going to approach it. This is what we may need from EagleBank. And so that very opportunity happens on a recurring basis throughout the year.
Greg, I have to imagine that you've had other relationships that didn't pan out quite so well, because this sounds like something that can be very beneficial to both sides. I imagine that there are missteps along the way that led you here. Is that accurate?
Actually, during the middle of our corporate transaction, we were heading down a path with our previous provider. And unfortunately, that provider didn't understand what our needs were, which is how we ended up turning to Eagle and had a positive result in the end.
And what sort of clients are you don't have to name specifics, but what sort of clients need that sort of large amount of capital? What sort of things are they doing?
Most of our clients are privately held businesses that are formed right here in Greater Washington. They've been formed as recent as a year ago, as long as maybe 50, 60, 70 years ago, and they are, like a lot of businesses, on a growth pattern. And as their growth needs build, we try to anticipate that and be a part of it.
So you need to know the DC community in order to do your job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other lessons, takeaways, advice for other companies? Obviously not your competitors. You can keep that to yourself.
Yeah.
But for other companies who are going down this path, experiencing this journey, what have you learned that could help other businesses?
I would say it's important, of course, to keep your own house clean and operate with integrity inside the lines and build a business that has a passion for serving a particular community, as we do, and then deliver those results.
And any advice for businesses who are going through this journey?
Yeah, and I think along the same paths that Greg is talking about, I think understanding each other's expectations. So John or Greg, just as you both would with your own personal lives, whether your relationship with your doctor or your dentist, your relationship with your banker and the communication back and forth should be just as open. If you want to achieve the goal you want to achieve, I have to be on the same page as you are on certain things.
Unless your dentist asks you if you floss, then you
That's
say you floss.
That's absolutely right.
No matter what, that's what you say. All right, what is ahead for your business? What's on the horizon?
I would say we have a number of outstanding bids that we're looking forward to hearing from the government in terms of a response. Our vision for our business is to be the leader in EAP, employee assistance programs, in the federal contracting market, and we intend to continue to invest in building that base.
Well, thank you both. I would like to thank today's guests, Greg Feldman, Chief Executive Officer at 3 Wire Systems, and Jeff Rubery, the Market Executive for Virginia at EagleBank. I'm your moderator, John Aaron. For more on this discussion, visit WTOP.com and search Small Business September.